What's up guys, welcome to Dabrudski. Today we're finally working on the Nissan 240SX. This is my brother's car. As you can see, the shop has a lot more room, some familiar cars. I finally moved into a bigger shop. So what we're doing today is we were just kind of working on his 240, trying to see if we can get a few little things done. We actually got it running. We're starting to wet sand it. We're trying to just kind of finish it all up so he can drive it. So let's go check it out. This car has a KA24E, which is a single cam motor out of like an 89 240. We got it running today. We didn't know what was wrong with it. All we did was ended up cranking the car over, didn't start, sprayed some starting fluid. It started right up. We're like, what the heck? We go to the back underneath where the fuel pump is. It was unplugged. We plugged it in and it started right up. Every single piece of the exhaust though was completely rotted out and broken. There's a big little gauging gap right there. The manifold had 3 bolts holding it. Most jank exhaust setup we've ever seen in our lives. So we went ahead and yanked all of that out. As we yanked it out, we realized that the motor mounts didn't have bolts in them, and that's pretty sketchy. The interior, we ended up completely gutting that out entirely, pulled out all the seats, the carpet, everything. I don't think we're gonna run anything on the inside. We're just gonna put seats back in there. But yeah, basically what we're doing is wet sanding the whole entire car so we can spray it black again. Before we get to just starting to wet sand it and getting this car prepped for paint, ready to go, I need to get my paint stand back and basically the hood off of the WRX, the one that was like all rusty and crusty. I took a grinder. This just takes off paint and rust. It doesn't take off any material. I did that to the entire hood down to bare metal. And then I sprayed some matte black paint. And right now it's just drying. Obviously these like dents right here, and there's another one up here. Doesn't look great. The thing is, when it dries matte, you really won't be able to tell the damage is there. And this hood is not gonna be forever on that car. I'm gonna get an OEM silver hood. I just couldn't imagine paying 150 bucks to a shop to paint this hood silver to match the car, and it's gonna be all damaged and stuff. That whole entire process for this hood cost me like 12 bucks and an hour of my time. We're gonna leave all that. Basically right now we're gonna jump into the 240. We're gonna yank off the driver's door, put it on a paint stand, and wet sand it. So we got the car outside, sitting here. Basically we're gonna have to take off this door and put it on this paint stand or whatever you wanna call it, because we need to wet sand the outside to make it completely flat. It's already done a little bit, and then the inside needs to be scuffed so it can be sprayed black as well. Basically what I'm talking about on this inside, right here, somebody had molded some side skirts to it, and this is all just filler, and those are sheet metal screws, and it kind of goes along the entire edge of the door. Just doesn't look that good. So basically I'm gonna take a grinder, cut all of the screws off since they filled them in, so you can't really unscrew them. So we're gonna grind all this flat and prime it and paint it. So now that we got this door off, this is a prime example of why this was a better idea than trying to do everything on the car. We thought this door was somewhat flat, but if you're starting to look at kind of all these like edges, we have a lot of paint runs, a lot of weird little dings and dents. All of this is gonna end up getting sanded flat, maybe a little bit of filler, because we want this car to be pretty clean, and we would have noticed this stuff otherwise. So now that this is all done, he's gonna go ahead and start wet sanding this door, probably take off the mirror, and I'm gonna grind up his door panel. As you can see, it's a little dark. I'm gonna use this light. Basically, everything is removed. All the body filler is pretty much gone from where it was. Now this is one smooth piece, one transition piece. So the door seal will be able to seal it like perfectly. All these little holes from the self-tappers that they put in that I cut off, I'm gonna go ahead and just weld these holes shut. And the reason I'm gonna weld the holes shut is it's just to save water from getting into the quarter panel, and they weren't there, and I want the door panel to look somewhat clean. I try to do our best with this thing, as you know, making it presentable, so it should at least look good. This is looking really, really nice. This project, I mean, as long as you just keep pushing forward, things are gonna get done. So let's continue with this and see how far we can get. Sir, no, don't record this.
Put that in the video. No, don't record this. Dude, it'll be hilarious. Do it. That's actually perfect. No, don't record this.
You look professional. That's 100% professional right there.
Yeah, literally. No, don't
We're going to the ice skating rink right there. Yep. Ice skating on some snow.
it's all done. We got it all welded up, grinded down, and now I'm just literally just putting a thin layer of filler on. And the reason I'm doing that is because where there's high points and low points, that seal might sit a little bit weird, even though it will seal 100% because the rubber can move into it. I just want it to be extremely flat, so it's perfect. Once that's all done, throw some self-etching primer on the metal, filler primer, wet sand it, and I'll just slap some paint. I mean, this is literally as good as it's gonna get. This door panel has more work and more good work done than most of this car did before we got it. So we're gonna do this side, I'm gonna jump to the other side, do the exact same thing, sand the door panels down, paint the door panels, paint the door, slap the door and mask it off, and then do the rest of the car. So it's the next day. It is a little bit cold, so I have the heater set up. Basically, I just finished up this one door jamb. Let me show you guys really quick. Just put a little bit of skim coat over it to just make it all flat. I just knocked her all down. There is a lot of bare metal, so I am gonna spray some self-etching primer all over it. Basically, the self-etching primer goes on bare metal, and then you can put like your filler, whatever on top. So let's push this thing out, spray some self-etch, put some primer on it, wait for it to dry while we finish the other side, and then get ready to paint it. It looks really, really good. And at the thickest point, I think it's actually right here. It's maybe the thickness of a credit card for the filler, and that's what you want. You want the absolute minimal amount of filler on anything you're using, because fillers, it's not as strong as metal, it doesn't move as good as metal, and it's just not great to have a bunch of fillers. When you go to work on your car again, if you have to grind it all down, you're just gonna be grinding through the stuff. It's nasty, it smells bad, and it's just tacky. Okay, so we're gonna pull off this door now to do the same exact process. Basically, this side has the exact same thing where you can see there is a, I don't know, 1/8 inch of body filler with what seems to be just body screws or sheet metal screws. And then that's all just filler all right here. It's just completely built up and it goes all the way through. Look at that side. Now let's go back to this side. And when we're done, this is pretty much what we should end up with. It's a perfect seam. Gonna wait for that to dry, and then I will wet sand the this door jamb along with the quarter panel, and then when we spray it, we'll just do it all as one continuous piece. But while that primer dries, let's go do the other side. Okay, so we got both door jambs done. Basically, it's all primed out. I fixed this little dent on the quarter panel that was right here. Now he's just finishing the last sanding section of the driver's side. We're gonna mask off the door jambs completely, and we're gonna spray them, and then we're gonna do the inside of the doors. So probably by the end of today, we could at least put the doors back on. This bodywork stuff is so time consuming and it's so tedious, but the more time you spend on it, the better it looks, the nicer it's gonna look when it's all painted. So the flatter it is, the nicer it's gonna look. So next time you see it, we're gonna be all masked off, ready to spray. Okay, so we got both door jambs done, and then we went a little overboard and we went ahead and sprayed this quarter panel. Basically, right here, this door jamb is dry, and so is that, so you can kind of see where it's matted out. The quarter panel is still a little bit shiny because it's still super, super wet. That's gonna dry and all matted, kind of like the door jamb, and it's gonna look absolutely amazing. This car is gonna be completely black, completely matte black, and it's gonna look so good. As soon as we get some bigger wheels and get rid of these red things, it's gonna look amazing. So anyways, we're gonna go off to the other side of the car now, where we need to wet sand it still. It's got some primer and such on there. Wet sand this entire quarter and spray it black. Do the same to the trunk, do the same to the roof, and we're done. Then we'll have to do the front end when we get a front end, because right now we just have the Sylvia front end, which is like the brick headlights, the carbon hood and such. We're not gonna run any of that. We wanna do a pop-up front end on this so it looks nice. But yeah, we're gonna jump in the other side and we'll get that done now.